good morning, and welcome to Radio Friends on this Friday, July the 2nd. We're all getting ready for the 4th of July, which is coming up on Sunday. And what does that mean? We have Larry Brown with us.
But it's a holiday.
Yeah, our songwriter, storyteller, and all-around good guy, Larry Brown. And what have you got for us today?
Well, this is Independence is what we're celebrating this weekend. And so I want to chat with you a bit and maybe share a couple little stories about some of the meanings of what we're celebrating.
Okay.
You may remember these words. There are certain truths which are self-evident.
Right.
All men are created equal. And among these essential truths are the ability for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Now, those phrases come right out of the Declaration of Independence. Well, we've struggled a bit, over the centuries for what that means. All men are created equal? We've had to figure out, not at that time, of course, only white male property owners basically had that kind of equality.
And women didn't either.
Exactly. Over time, we've learned those lessons. And a second thing that's very evident in those words, too, is that sometimes difficulty between equality and liberty. I don't have the liberty to do everything I want to do because that would take away from equality with others. Or if you make everybody equal, that means somebody may have to surrender what they think is liberty. So we've had that creative tension through all of this time about what do we mean by equal and that balance between liberty and equality. Well, two experiences I want to share with you that have helped me kind of understand that. One came when I was in high school and taking a government class, and our teacher said, you ought to get involved in some political action this year. It was an electoral year, and we each had to have a project. Well, I and a classmate decided we would participate in the town caucus. My mother, who had taught school at one time and was a valedictorian in high school, she had been talking about the school board, and so I got this idea, why not nominate my mother for the school board? But women had never served on the school board. Well, I and my classmate talked to the city clerk, who would be the parliamentarian of the town caucus, and said, can we nominate somebody? And he looked up the rules and said, anybody, even if they're not a citizen of that town, if they get a vote from the caucus to allow speech or nomination, it's possible. So our class went to the town caucus, and there I rose and asked if I could make a nomination. Well, the presiding officer says, what? This is a small town. Well, Larry, what are you doing? Well, the town clerk was prepared and showed him the rules. He said, oh. So they voted, and the caucus said we would accept my making a nomination, which I did, nominated my mother for school board. Well, in the end, she didn't get it, and so on and so on. But it was one of those first experiences of, what do we mean by equality? Well, the second I share with you is the story of a man named Daryl Davis, who was a black musician, a pianist, plays blues, jazz, honky-tonk. And in 2017, there was a documentary on his life and his interests, and it was a special was done on also NPR in All Things Considered, because he was playing in the 1980s in a little lounge, and as a black man, a white man talked to him later and said, I've never heard a black person play like Jerry Lee Lewis. And he sat down and he says, oh, it's the other way around. Jerry Lee Lewis learned to play that way from black musicians like I did. And they got in a conversation. And in the conversation discovered that man was a member of the KKK. And they struck up a friendship. It was not long after that Daryl Davis did an interview with the head of the clans in the state of Maryland. Now, the head of the clan didn't know he was being interviewed by a black man when he came in, but they had this conversation and became friends. And over time, this person in the KKK gave up his robe and turned it over to Daryl Davis. Well, over the 30 years or so, Daryl Davis has made it his life mission to, quote-unquote, convert as many Klansmen as he could. And he says he's directly responsible for maybe as many as 60, but indirectly maybe as many as 200, because he said, we're not in that position where my liberty takes away from my equality or my equality takes away from your liberty. But together we allow equality and liberty to be mutually supportive. If we're all equal, we have liberty. If my liberty extends to you as your liberty, we are all equal. And so in those conversations, he's been changing minds, and a good example of how that's what independence is about. Equality and liberty are complementary. They're mutual. They're partners.
That's a good story, Larry. And many times we don't think of it that way. We like to say, well, I have my rights. I can do what I want to because this is America and I've got the right to do what I want to do. Well, what if your rights infringe upon somebody else?
Precisely. And there are swings we sometimes have in this country more toward liberty and swings we have more toward equality. But the healthy relationship is that those are in a creative tension perhaps, but they are mutual.
Yeah. I hope that we can all stop and think about that as we celebrate the 4th of July, this coming Sunday,
Yes.
Independence Day. That's important for all of us, and I hope that you have a very pleasant 4th of July.
Thank you.
Okay. You know what, Larry? If people want more information and you to come and talk to them, you're now going to groups again.
Oh, yes.
How do they get in touch with you?
brownstory@hotmail.com.
brownstory@hotmail.com. Okay. As we wrap this up today, we're all feeling just a little bit sad because we are losing a very special young lady. She has been with us as our floor director for about, come here, Grace. You're going to go hide. Grace Vance has been our floor director. Come over here.
Okay.
She's always full of grace.
Yeah, sit right here on the side.
Okay.
All right?
Hello.
She has been our floor director for about, sit down, make yourself comfortable. Okay. She's been our floor director for about three and a half years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I've seen you without a mask on now for
I know.
a year and a half.
It has been like a year.
You want to use that microphone?
Oh.
But Grace is leaving us. We can't pay her enough. She's going to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And what are you going to do?
I'm going to be a director there.
Well, you're going to be a wonderful director. I tell you what, this young lady has worked so hard and done so many things beyond and above the call of duty for us on Radio Friend. We are going to miss you an awful lot.
Oh, thank you, Paul. This was so unexpected.
And I wish you the very best of luck. Our loss is their gain in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Well, thank you, Paul. It's been amazing to work with you guys.
Yeah, will you come back and see us again?
Oh, yes. I'll stay in touch.
All right. And if you're up in Cedar Rapids, look for her credits on the news. What's the station?
KCRG.
Okay, what number?
I don't know the number.
Okay, all right. Look for her name, Grace Vance. Bye-bye.